Welcome back to the Hidden Beyond podcast. Today's title is The Spirits That Roam Shoal Bay. This is episode 2. Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and I hope you have a pleasant one today. I've been doing a lot of research lately from small town chatter and archived documents and everything in between. Now, when it comes to the unexplained and the stories passed down, you have to take everything with a grain of salt. One thing I have learned is that when you hear a story more than 3 times, there's meat on the bone worth chewing. So this particular podcast episode, we are going to talk about a place where I grew up. And I'm not doing this from my roots, but only because it became more interesting when some people came in contact with me on this topic. There is a stretch of rugged coastline that is 16.3 kilometers or 10 miles along the coast of Newfoundland, Canada. And it's the midway part of the East Coast Hiking Trail. This isolated coastline is so remote, it can only be accessible by hiking. Some try to get to the coastline by all-terrain vehicles, but sometimes that has proven to be great difficulty. So what makes this such an interesting, mysterious place? Well, there has been sightings and strange instances over decades. This place also holds a history of missing people and mysterious deaths. The stretch from Motion Cove Pity Harbor to Bay Bulls is a distance of leaving one civilization and joining another, with no one in between, which leaves you with 10 miles of Shoal Bay. Now, there was in the past a small mining and fishing settlement along the coast. From recent information I have been told from stories that have been passed down. There are stories of accidental and mysterious deaths from the old copper mine, which I led to believe was not in operation for very long. The other stories I have heard were of shipwrecks on the Shoal coastline, hence the name Shoal Bay. It was said that sailors on wooden ships back in the 1700s and into the 1800s have struck bottom, trying to get close to the shore to get their sails out of treacherous winds, and the ships were sinking, men were swimming for their lives to the shores. Depending on the time of the year and supplies available, they wander through the shorelines and the forests to find shelter and food. But the elements of Mother Nature would take a toll on their health and eventually succumb to their injuries. Some say the spirits still travel the land of Shoal Bay. Years ago, I heard of Peter Easton, a well-known captain who at one time worked for Queen Elizabeth I, but he became a pirate of the seas in the Western world. The stories goes when he came to shores in Shoal Bay, and we later learned they also called a place in Newfoundland called Harbour Grace as Shoal Bay, which was a bit confusing, but I did come to hear different sources say that he did sail from Harbour Grace to the eastern deserted part of the Avalon and went to the shore in a small dory on the east coast of Newfoundland to Shoal Bay from a ship with 2 crew members and a crate that a collection of valuables he had stolen from other ships. The legend was that he made it to shore of Shoal Bay, found an area where he asked his crew members to dig a hole and mark it. It would be documented in Easton's log. It was also Easton that made it back to the dory and rowed back to the ship alone. The theory was that Easton didn't want anyone to find their way back and claim the treasure, so to ensure that no one, even his own crew, stole his treasure, he would assassinate them there at the spot, and their ghosts would protect the treasure. Some say it was a myth, others say they believed the tale. Millions of people walk along the coastline of the East Coast Trail, and many have had sensations of eerie experiences along the coastline of Shoal Bay. People had the feelings of being followed and watched. Now spirits and ghostly apparitions have been witnessed by people who are around strong energy of water sources in different parts of the world. This energy from the sea surge, winds, waves, crashing against rocks and shoreline, the energy is enormous. The other source of energy is from the famous geyser in Shoal Bay called the Spout. There have been stories of paranormal phenomena around this area. I heard of people going missing in the forest around Shoal Bay, out hiking, getting disoriented, and never being seen again. Some say that they got lost, others say they wanted a tranquil place to end their life, or folklore idea that fairies have taken them away. There has been numerous instances of hikers getting stranded in places and veer off the path and become disoriented. There has been times people have say that they were being chased or saw strange figures or entities of unknown persons or paranormal. This could also be due to dehydration and disorientation, but it is something to consider. A solo hiker who traveled the East Coast Trail decided that he would go to the Spout, said he would head towards Pipeline Road and walk 20 kilometers away, but before he reached the Spout, he saw what looked like an old sail ship in the fog, just about 3 miles from the shore, which is not a safe place for a ship in the shoal waters. As he got closer to the shoreline edge, he lost his footing. He fell down a rocky landing. After getting up and checking to see if he was okay, he looked out towards the ocean, and the ship was gone. And ironically, the fog was lifting, which made it seem more strange as it disappeared that fast. He climbed his way up towards the path of the trail and brushed off some dirt around his fresh cuts. Looking back out towards the ocean, having a strange feeling on what he saw, he thought. Between lives being lost, persons gone missing, and claims of people having strange encounters with strange events, it's not hard to believe there's a dark history and a presence around the shores of this walking trail. So if you ever visit Newfoundland and walk the East Coast Trail, you could be in company of the spirits that roam Shoal Bay.